So what up, guys? Welcome back. My name is Luke, and yes, guys, thank you so much for joining me today. So yes, today's topic, Andrew Tate, the man, the myth, the legend. So yes, guys, today we're gonna be reacting to a very interesting clip of an interview that Andrew Tate did before his arrest. As to why, or rather, the question was asked as why he changed religions from Christianity to Islam. And yes, we're just gonna be looking at what he said, and I'm gonna give my 2 cents on it. So, guys, let's jump into it.
Religion, because I think one of the first videos that I saw of you many moons ago, probably around 2017 or something like that, when you were just getting started and using YouTube, you were talking about religion and God. I can't remember the exact words, but I mean, you were talking something along the lines of like, like why, like, put yourself first, like, is this even real sort of thing. So you sort of came off more as like atheist or agnostic. Then you kind of went to Christianity, with Romania. I've heard you talk about making large donations to the church sort of thing, and now you've converted to Islam. Can you explain why you've kind of shifted your mindset and your beliefs from more like non-religious to Christianity to Islam, and why?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So first things first, it is a very rare occurrence I am wrong, but I will admit it. I was wrong. I know, mind bending, I was wrong. I truly didn't believe that God existed. But then it became more and more apparent to me that he must exist, because Newton's third law is equal and opposite force. When he sat underneath the apple tree, he talked about the three laws of gravity and the three laws of motion, and one of them was equal and opposite force. If there's a force in one direction, there must be an equal and opposite force in the opposite direction. And if you look at the world today and understand that people like Balenciaga, people who are purporting these ideals on children, people who are trying to chop everybody's dicks off, people who are trying to make you get injections you don't need, if you're looking at this and understanding that this is the work of demons, this is the work of the devil, these people are truly evil, there must be an equal and opposite force, and that equal and opposite force is God. There's no other way to explain it besides the fact there's so much evil in the world. I've seen enough evil and seen enough of Satan to understand that God must exist. So yes, once I understood that God must be real, I naturally reverted to Christianity because it's the country I live in, and it's the third most religious country on the planet.
Okay, so I just want to point out this fact before he goes into dip. I've come to this understanding that your geographical location in the world somehow determines the religious beliefs that you're gonna somehow acquaint yourself with as you grow up. So yes, let me just point that fact. So based on where you was, the common religion there is Christianity. So and he was drawn to that from the beginning as he converted from being an atheist to a theist. So yeah.
Vatican City is technically number one, the Vatican. Number two is a very small island somewhere in the Southeast Pacific. But Romania, at 99.7% Christian, is the third most religious, Christianically religious country in the world. And I had respect for Christianity, but truthfully, I don't think there's any other religion than Islam. And the reason for that is just simply because I believe God should be feared. And I think only the God, well, I think there's one God. There's maybe different interpretations, but there's only one God. But the different interpretations of said God, I think it should be the one that is most fearsome. God is going to be it's going to be a feared individual. God is going to be somebody who you do not want to cross or upset. And I think that Islam describes him best. So I understood first that God must be real. And I've always had healthy respect for Islam. And it was just a matter of me.
Okay, let's touch on that point. Okay, so his very reason, Andrew Tate's very reason of why he converted from, of course, he pointed out the whole journey, right? He gave us a small brief highlight as to how his conversion went about. He was an atheist, then he became a theist, and he converted to Christianity. And that was due to the fact that he was in Romania, and majority of the population in Romania identify as Christians. Cool. So geographical location determined his beliefs, or religious beliefs at that point. Then, as he went deeper, he now identifies as Islam. And one of the reasons he gives is because, Muslims fear God more than the Christians do. And he identifies more with that particular God, or rather that image of God that has been put forth by Islam more than the one that has been put forth by Christianity, because they fear God more than the Christians do. To which I personally don't have an argument to, because, well, it's evident by what's happening in the world. Majority of people that came to be, or rather, majority of people that tend to claim that they're believers, or rather they're Christians, tend to do the worst of things. I do understand where he's coming from, but I'm going to argue on this point. So truthfully speaking, the whole reason that he gave us why he converted, basing it on the fact that there's a lot of wrongdoings in Christianity, people that are identifying as Christians are behaving contrary to their beliefs. Yeah, well, I personally feel that's not reason enough as to why a person should convert from one religion to another, due to the fact that the main and the basic principle, or rather teachings of Christianity, is based on the fact that a person should focus on their own walk with God and not look to other people's walk, or rather the way people live their life or choose to live their life, as a determinant for their own faith. So yeah, I feel like that's not reason enough as to why a person should choose to convert from one religion to another by just looking at how other people who identify as part of that specific religion choose to live their own individual life. So, yeah. I understand where Andrew Tate is coming from. And yes, there's a reason why I highlighted the fact that geographical location determines the beliefs that you accept and the beliefs that you go with, or rather your religion is determined by your geographical location as well. So there's a reason why I pointed out that fact. And yes, from the beginning we can see that him coming to Christianity was determined by his geographical location, but then he's going to Islam, converting to Islam was determined by who he is as an individual. And I have no problem with that, because, well, we are drawn, majority of the times, we're drawn to things that we identify with based on his personality. You can already see this is a tough guy. He identifies as a tough guy, a macho man. So I understand why, you'll be drawn to such an image of God. That is a God that needs to be feared, a God that needs to be revered, just like Muslims do, to the point where they can't mention and take the name of God just in vain, just like that, or rather the name of the prophet. But in Christianity, well, everything just goes. And yes, 100% I understand where he's coming from. But then again, looking at the true Christianity, or rather Christianity as a whole, from scripture, Christianity is not centralized as Islam is. Islam is literally more centralized than Christianity. And hence, I understand why he, as an individual, identifies with Islam, because, well, it's much more organized than Christianity. Because, take a look at this fact. In Christianity, there's more than 10,000 denominations, meaning different branches of Christianity with different beliefs, with different practices, with different traditions, or rather different perspectives. More than 10,000, right? Both official and unofficial. And they all say different things. And they all identify as Christians to some degree. They all have some sort of similarity somewhere and somehow. But when we look at Islam, it's literally more centralized, because guess how many denominations are there in Islam? Meaning there won't be much confusion. There's literally no much noise. It's literally more organized. The religion is... the practices are centralized, the beliefs are centralized, there's no much confusion compared to the 10,000. Hence, I understand where he's coming from, because as an individual, he identifies more with organized religion than Christianity, because, even our Holy Scripture, or rather our Bible, is left to personal interpretation, meaning anyone can wake up any day, because it's not centralized. There's no authority that we look to, an organized authority that we look to say, okay, this is how they interpret the Bible and this is how they do it. As with Islam, it's easier for there to be an authority that people should look up to. But yet in Christianity, anyone can wake up and just give their own interpretation of what scripture says, such as this individual.
Did you know that there's a part of the Gospel of Mark where Jesus uses a racial slur? In Mark chapter 7, there's the account of the Syrophoenician woman, a woman who is Syrian and Greek, both of which there were strong biases against within the Jewish community. And she comes to ask Jesus to heal her daughter who's possessed by a demon. And what is Jesus' response? He says, it's not good for me to give the children's food, meaning the children of Israel's food, to dogs. He calls her a dog. What's amazing about this account is that the woman doesn't back down. She speaks truth to power. She confronts Jesus and says, well, you can think that about me, but even dogs deserve the crumbs from the table. Her boldness and bravery to speak truth to power actually changes Jesus' mind. Jesus repents of his racism and extends healing to this woman's daughter. I love this story because it's a reminder that Jesus is human. He had prejudices and bias, and when confronted with it, he was willing to do his work. And this woman was willing to stand up and speak truth.
And yes, this individual as well.
I know so many of you will find it difficult to believe that I am Jesus, the Christ of God.
And yes, at the end of the day, this all brings so much confusion to the point where you as an individual don't even know. You as a person, to the point where you as a person don't even know who to run to for a proper interpretation of what the scripture says, because everything else is left to you as a person. And worse, as I highlighted, the basic foundation, or rather fundamental teachings of Christianity is that salvation is personal. You as an individual, you work on your own salvation personally. And yeah, I mean, other people might argue to the fact that, well, because it's not centralized, there's no particular authority that we look up to, hence it gives much more freedom. You're not bound. You don't have to fear God. There's no dictatorship. I understand. But looking at Andrew Tate's perspective of things, or rather what Andrew Tate is saying, I do understand where he's coming from.
Respect for Islam. And it was just a matter of me going through my own personal journey to find the religion that was easiest for me to respect, almost. Because I think that how can you worship or believe in something you don't respect? And if you look at a lot of the garbage coming out about Christian preachers now in America who are trans, and Christian preachers with gay flags on the church and all this insanity, I think that Christianity has lost its way. So if I believe in God and Christianity has lost its way, then I've been shown the truth, and the truth must be Islam.
And yes, guys, I know I'm playing devil's advocate because I personally identify as a Christian, and I'm playing devil's advocate at this point, which is useful because at the end of the day, guys, we have to point out this fact. Yeah, his point is justified, and I as an individual can't judge Andrew Tate because he converted to Islam, because, well, it's like, well, you choose what you identify mostly with and what reflects or resonate with you as an individual, with your personality, with your perspective of the world, with your perspective towards life. Well, you accept it, and if it makes you feel better and it makes you a better person, then, well, brother man, all the best to you. Well, guys, those are my 2 cents. And yes, guys, I guess I'll be seeing you on the next one. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. I really appreciate you guys. And don't forget to leave your comments and your thoughts below. I really appreciate it. I guess I'll be seeing you on the next one. Ciao. Oh.